Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In this video, we'll be going over my predictions for week 3 in Madden NFL 18. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Ravens win against the Jaguars by at least 4 points. The Ravens won by 14 against the Browns last week, and the Jags lost, so I'm going to go with the Ravens in a win. I'm going to say that's true. Blake Bortles has at least 250 passing yards. Last week he only had 223, so I'm gonna say that is false. Broncos win against the Bills by at least 3 points. The Broncos won big last week against the Cowboys, so I'm gonna say yes, this is true. Tyrod Taylor has at least 200 passing yards and at least 30 rushing yards. Tyrod Taylor only had 125 passing yards last week. I don't know how many rushing yards he had, so I'm going to say this is false. Panthers win against the Saints by at least 6 points. The Panthers won last week by 6 points, so I'm going to say this is true. Jonathan Stewart has at least 1 touchdown. Last week, Jonathan Stewart did not score, so I'm going to say this is going to be false. Steelers win against the Bears by at least 8 points. They won by more than 8 points last week, the Steelers, and they're going against the Bears, so I'm going to say this is true. Antonio Brown has at least 100 receiving yards. He only had 62 receiving yards last week, but they're playing the Bears, so I think he can get 100, so I'm going to say this is true. Falcons win against the Lions by at least 4 points. The Falcons beat the Packers last week by more than 4 points, and I feel like the Packers are a better team than the Lions, so I'm going to go with Falcons. I'm going to say it's true. Devontae Freeman has at least 76 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. Sorry, 75. Freeman had 84 rushing yards last week and 2 touchdowns against the Packers, so again, I'm going to say this is true. Browns win against the Colts by at least 2 points. Both teams lost last week, but the Colts do not have Andrew Luck, so I'm going to go with the Browns and say this is true. Frank Gore has at least 1 touchdown. He scored 1 last week, so I'm going to say this is true. Vikings win against the Bucs. I like the Vikings over the Bucs. They have better defense than the Buccaneers. Their offense is pretty good, so I'm going to go with the Vikings. Adam Thielen has at least 90 receiving yards. He only had 44 receiving yards last week, but I do like him against the Bucs defense. I'm gonna say true. He's gonna get 90. Patriots win against the Texans by at least 13 points. The Patriots won by 16 points last week, and they're playing the Texans, who has a rookie quarterback. So I'm going to say this is true. Brandon Cooks has at least one touchdown. Cooks did not score last week, and I don't think he's going to score against that Texan defense. So I'm going to say this is false. Dolphins win against the Jets by at least 6 points. Dolphins won last week by 2 points, but they're playing the Jets. The Jets aren't really good, so I'm going to say this is true. Matt Forte has at least one touchdown. Forte did not score last week, but they were playing the Jets, so I'm going to say this is true. He's going to score. Eagles win against the Giants by at least 4 points. It's a toss-up. Should be a good game. I am going to go with the Eagles, and I'm going to say this is true. Zach Ertz has at least 95 receiving yards. Ertz had 97 last week against the Giants. I think he would get at least 95. So I'm gonna say this is true. Titans win against the Seahawks by at least 3 points. Both teams won last week, but Seahawks have the better defense. So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks, and I'm gonna say this is true. Delaney Walker has at least one touchdown. He did not score last week. So I'm going to say this is false. Packers win against the Bengals by at least 9 points. The Packers lost last week to the Falcons, but I think they will bounce back against the Bengals and win by at least 9. So I'm going to say this is true. Ty Montgomery has at least 100 combined rushing yards and receiving yards. He only had 35 rushing yards last week. I don't know how many receiving yards he had. I'm going to say this is false. Chiefs win against the Chargers by at least 3 points. Chiefs won by 7 last week, and I like them over the Chargers. I'm going to say this is true. Melvin Gordon has at least 75 combined rushing yards and receiving yards. Gordon only had 13 rush yards last week. I don't know how many receiving yards he had, so I'm going to say this is false. Raiders win against the Redskins by at least 3 points. They won by 25 points last week. They were looking really good, so I'm going to say this is true. Marshawn Lynch has at least one touchdown. Marshawn scored last week, so I'm going to say this is true. Kirk Cousins has at least 275 passing yards. Cousins only had 179 passing yards last week, so I'm going to say this is false. Cowboys win against the Cardinals by at least 3 points. Arizona won last week. The Cowboys lost. I'm going to pick the Cardinals and say this is false. Jason Witten has at least one touchdown. Witten did score last week, so I'm going to say yes, this is true. Larry Fitzgerald has at least 6 receptions. He only had 3 last week, so I'm going to say this is false. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment down below on videos that you guys would like to see me do in the future. Until next time.